Seattle Seahawks, Arizona Cardinals, everything you need to know for your fantasy teams and player projections in 15 minutes. If you've never been here before, welcome. My name is Max. I make these for every single primetime game and all of the games on Sunday, giving you a unique edge looking at run scheme metrics, coverage data, and overall statistical trends that not a lot of people talk about because it relates to the film and the schematics behind the numbers we see all across the internet. Without further ado, let's get into it. As always, my picks are in the description on my socials. Instagram and TikTok are the entries. Twitter, more fun picks, anytime touchdowns. Last week, we got a Jackson Hawes anytime touchdown. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything like that in the future. Let's talk about this Seattle Seahawks defense. In terms of data outliers, they're giving up the 5th most quarterback pass completions, the 7th most quarterback pass attempts, the 3rd most overall rush attempts, but we'll see it a little bit. The run defense is actually playing pretty well, and Arizona doesn't run the ball great to begin with, but the 2nd most running back receptions, the most running back receiving yards. Very important. We'll talk Trey Benson, as well as the 2nd most tight end receptions and the 7th most tight end yards. In terms of their coverage, they're more zone heavy, a lot of middle field open, right? 13th most zone, 5th most middle field open. You'll see some cover 2, you'll see some quarters, but the most important thing to know against a zone heavier team, and this is part of the reason that the tight end receptions are up, the running back receptions are up. Those guys' usage against these coverages are usually higher. Trey Benson has an insanely high uptake versus zone. He was tied for the most target rate. This should be target rate. But tied for the highest target rate on the Arizona Cardinals, even with James Conner playing, which is super important to know. Now, Trey McBride's usage was higher versus man-to-man, but it's still a great matchup, and you can see that in the target rates. I will say, the Cardinals don't like to throw the ball to receivers in general, but they're dead last in out wide receiver rate. So Marvin Harrison Jr., it's been rough to start the year. Just the law of averages says bounce back game here, but the target rate doesn't. In terms of slot targets, Seahawks are allowing at the 12th highest rate. Cardinals are throwing at 13th highest rate. Inline, Seahawks above average as well. Cardinals throwing at the 5th highest rate. So I like Trey McBride here. He's been pretty solid against the Seattle Seahawks. And like we talked about, the data outliers here, 2nd most tight end receptions, 7th most tight end yards. I'm getting on Trey McBride in some aspect. Obviously, if you have him in fantasy, you're starting him. I'd feel a little more confident here. But the main thing here is the backfield usage. The Seattle Seahawks, again, giving up the 2nd highest target rate to opposing running backs, and the Cardinals are throwing there at the 6th highest rate, comparatively one of the highest in the NFL. That's why I love Trey Benson. When you go look at the game logs against the Seattle Seahawks, Christian McCaffrey, 9 catches for 73 yards, and even Kyle Juszczyk out of the backfield, chunk plays. 32 yards. Jaylen Warren, 86 yards just through the air against the Seattle Seahawks defense. And Kenneth Gainwell still caught 3 passes. Now, what was interesting, we were on Alvin Kamara last week. He didn't have a ton of production in the pass game. He had a 14-yard catch in the first quarter, I believe, and then kind of tapered off. Now, could that have been because of the game flow? They got Kendre Miller more involved? Potentially. Who knows? But Alvin Kamara didn't have the receiving day we thought he would. However, the pass production makes us feel even more confident about the running back production and through the air, especially against them. And when you go look at the running backs last week, obviously James Conner done for the year. Trey Benson's going to take over the starting role. Amari DiMercado played some snaps. I expect him to play more than 7 snaps in this game, truthfully. But I still don't think he's going to take away from Trey Benson's overall starting running back usage. I think when you look at, again, go back to snap counts really quick. Conner out there for 60-ish% of snaps. You could see it was starting to shift a little bit, but out there for 60-ish% of snaps. Benson 35-40, probably around the same, to be honest with you. I think Amari DiMercado could be out there for 30-ish% of snaps this week. When it comes to running the ball, I talked about it. The Seahawks allow a lot of running back rush attempts. Teams like to run the ball on them, again, because they have that too high shell, that middle field open. It's a little more appealing to run the ball. They fit the run really well. They do. Their defensive line is solid. Their backers are solid. They're only allowing 3.21 yards per carry. Now, Arizona doesn't run the ball horribly just in general, but when you get into the scheme-specific stuff, Seahawks are worse against zone runs. The Cardinals are brutal running the ball in zone. They're better against man gap. Well, so are the Cardinals. So I'm staying away here just a little bit because I don't know how much Trey Benson is going to be involved just in general in the run game. I don't know how much the Cardinals are going to run the ball, period. Staying away from the run game, but the red zone data I do really like. Elijah Higgins is a guy I'm looking at, guys. Elijah Higgins. I'm going to do a little more digging for you. Again, all picks will be on socials, but Twitter, especially for stuff like this. 2nd highest targets per route run in the red zone. Now, I believe he ran 3 routes. So that's a target every 3 routes. But that's averages out to a route a game. So you can't confidently lean in here. However, it is, I believe, plus 1,500, 1,400 for a touchdown. Look, I'm not saying get on it. Again, all this is not financial or professional advice, but it's appealing. It reminds me a lot of Jackson Hawes last week. I don't want to do it back-to-back weeks just because the week before it hit. This is appealing, though. Now, in terms of, again, McBride and Harrison, each 3 red zone targets, but leaning back into Higgins, the 8th highest in-line red zone rate. That's what the Seahawks are allowing. Comparatively, across all positions, the inline position is where teams attack the Seahawks in the red zone as well. So projections here, Trey Benson, I am on the receiving yards in terms of legs. I can water down Trey McBride. I can water down Trey Benson receptions as well. But truthfully, straight, I like Trey Benson's receiving yards again, the game where I think both teams are going to pass a bunch. Chunk plays could be there. I like the screen game for Arizona as well. I like that. And again, we'll confirm on socials, but Elijah Higgins is very, very appealing to me here. Very appealing. Let's talk other side of the ball here. Cardinals defense, data outliers. The nicest way possible outside of running backs, they stink everywhere. In terms of production, most quarterback pass completions and attempts, second most quarterback passing yards, fourth most running back receptions, fifth most running back receiving yards, most wide receiver receptions, sixth most wide receiver yards, third most tight end receptions, eighth most tight end yards. Here's the thing, though. Holistically, I don't think this defense is that bad. They shut the door. They play bend, don't break. As you can see, more zone heavy, more middle field close, a ton of cover 3, but almost all of the middle field open they run is quarters. They run the most quarters in the entire NFL, true cover 4. That helps me lean into tight ends a little bit, but JSN is the guy we got to look at here. 3 times more targets than anybody else on the Seahawks roster against zone. This is going to sound insane to say. Some of you may not even believe it. Every other route, almost. It's not exactly 50%. It's a little less. But almost every other route JSN runs against zone, he's getting a target. How ridiculous is that? And now you're getting a more zone-heavy team that's going to play some cover 4, a lot of cover 3. I really like JSN. And then you go look at the wide receiver production overall, right? Most receiver receptions, 6th most wide receiver yards. Target rate, it's more out wide. JSN is a lower slot receiver in terms of participation, but he has double Cooper Kupp slot targets. So even though he's running less routes from the inside, he's getting targeted there more than double Cooper Kupp is. So Cooper Kupp is a slot guy in terms of participation, but JSN still getting double the targets. Now on the outside, JSN is still the main guy. I don't really love the tight end usage anywhere else, but because the Cardinals have not been great against tight ends, they give up the chunk plays. I'm going to lean into AJ Barner a little bit. It's just yards. It's not going to be more than one catch. I don't mind AJ Barner in this game. When you look at snap counts for the Seattle Seahawks, their tight end usage is kind of all over the place, but in back-to-back weeks, AJ Barner has had more than 10 yards. And you look at, again, here, the tight end production. The reason I think, again, this dipped off last week and you saw guys like Eric Sobert, Robbie Oost, I don't even know who that is, play more is because they won by like 40 points. In the first 2 weeks, he was playing 85 and 89% of the snaps in closer games. I trust that to go back up. Elijah Arroyo was one of my guys preseason who I did really like, but right now, AJ Barner, until further notice, has to be the guy you lean into a little bit. You also go look at some of this production against the Arizona Cardinals as it relates to the tight end position in the past. I mean, Juwan Johnson, 76 yards. Jatavion Sanders, 54 yards. Tommy Tremble had 3 catches for 20. Again, the other thing last week is Jake Tunges. Like, how much do you really trust the production of that guy compared to an AJ Barner? You can compare them. That's fine. He's still at 20-plus yards. And AJ Barner's, I believe, line's at like 18 right now, but we'll talk about what we're on for him. Looking down a little bit more, though, the run scheme metrics are very interesting because Kenneth Walker, to me, again, I've talked about this a bunch, is extremely talented. He's got an extremely high usage rate when Zach Charbonnet is out or does not play. However, you have to go look at the injury report and take everything with a grain of salt as well. Zach Charbonnet was a full participant in Monday and Tuesday's practice. Obviously, you wait for the designation on Wednesday. However, he missed last week, and Walker was good. Walker was solid, and he had his usage. That's going to change this week. Even on a short week, it's going to change. If he's a full participant in back-to-back practice, he's good to go. And this is another game where you have to be scared leaning into the Seahawks backfield because of that stuff. Now, looking at the Cardinals injury report, we still wait for Tuesday designations. I'm recording this a little bit early. Obviously, James Conner is done. Zay Jones, DNP with a concussion, probably not going to play if I had to guess. A couple other DNPs, Will Johnson, Kelvin Beachum. Bottom line is, I like the Seahawks team, and I think the Seahawks are going to be able to score in this game, even though they can't really run the ball. The red zone usage, the 5th highest slot rate. 4 comparative projections I'm leaning into, though. AJ Barner, again, we talked about it, 10 plus yards just overall as a leg. I like it. That will be in my entry. I'm just going to spoil it for you guys, but you can check out the other stuff on Instagram and TikTok. That will be in my entry. Two very interesting notes here, though. Obviously, I like JSN. You can get on him straight, probably going to water him down in an entry as well. If I had to lean, just because of volume, I would probably go yards, even if it's a more zone-heavy team because of the chunk plays, because of the one-on-one matchups, his explosive ability, his ability to run after the catch. I'd probably go yards just in case. I like both of them, though. Sam Darnold is the guy I want to talk about, though, because when you go look at Sam Darnold's past production, you will look at week 1 against this 49ers team, and, he wasn't great. 150 yards, 14 yards on the ground, back-to-back weeks against more favorable matchups, multiple touchdowns, 200-plus passing yards. I love Sam Darnold in this game, and right now when I'm making this, multiple touchdowns for Sam Darnold is plus money. It's plus money, and I think it's worth getting on, especially, again, when you look at this Arizona Cardinals team, most quarterback pass completions, most quarterback attempts allowed. They're good against the run. The Seahawks team is going to have to throw the football. That's the reality of it. And I think they're going to be able to move the ball down the field. I like Seattle in this game. Now, the very interesting long shot here, and I'm going back and forth, I will pick a long shot again on my socials, is Jake Bobo. You go look at the snap counts, and I don't want to get ahead of myself. I don't want to get too excited, right? He didn't play week 1. Week 2, 10 snaps. Week 3, snaps double. Look, Torrey Horton is the number 3, and I think it's more clear to see that. But other guys' snaps are starting to take hits when Jake Bobo is back. Plus 2,500 in what I think could be a very high-scoring game. I like it. I think it's worth the long shot. I really do. But that is everything I have for this Thursday Night Football game. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. We'll have all the Sunday breakdowns coming for you. God bless you guys, and we'll see you next time.